Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see how to connect your Google spreadsheet to a MongoDB on the cloud with the help of Google Apps Script. So we basically need a Google Apps Script as well as configuration, which need to be done on the MongoDB side to receive the API request from your Google Sheet to the MongoDB so that the MongoDB can interpret and insert the record into the MongoDB database. And this is going to be quite a lengthy video, but just don't skip the video in the middle, because if you miss a small configuration settings on the MongoDB, then you're not able to properly integrate the Google Sheet and a MongoDB. So let's begin. And this is the record I'm going to export to my MongoDB server. Let me go to the MongoDB. So the MongoDB, which is offering a 500 MB of a free data space, that you can use it for doing a sandbox and no credit cards are required. So just go ahead and create a new account. If you already have an account, that's well and good. So when you're creating the account for the very first time, it will take a few minutes to set up. So here you need to go with free version because of these two are paid version, and just for our testing purpose, I'm going to create a cluster on the free version. So here you need to select your cloud provider. There are three providers: AWS, Google Cloud, as well as Azure. I will go with AWS, and the recommended region I will just keep North Virginia, and we will get 512 MB of storage. And the additional settings, we don't have any backup or any other feature apart from this 512 MB of storage. And click on create cluster. And here you can see that our cluster is creating, and it will take around 1 to 3 minutes to create a cluster. So I'm going to pause the video until it create a cluster, and I will come back. My cluster is successfully created. As you see here, my cluster name is cluster 0, and this is a sandbox cluster. So to connect your Google Sheet to this MongoDB cluster, you need a third-party service, and we are going to integrate that with the help of a Stich that you can see here. Just click on the Stich option, and here you need to create a new application. Click on the create new application. Let's name this as Google Sheet. And I want this application to be connected to the cluster 0. And the Stich service name is MongoDB. Just keep it as it is. And deployment model should be global. And the primary region is Virginia. Just don't alter it. And click on create. Again, it will take another 1 to 3 minutes. So now the app is successfully created, that you can see here. And if you just scroll down, you can see an option add a service. Just click on that. And here you need to click on add a service. And here we are going to connect Google Sheet to the MongoDB with HTTP request. So click on the HTTP. Let's name this as a Google Sheet Connect. And click on add service. And here we need to add incoming webhook. Click on the add incoming webhook. Let's name this as webhook 0. And the authentication should be system log function. Just turn it off as it is. And the HTTP method should be post. And for the request validation, just go with no additional authorization, which is a default option. And if you scroll up, you can see one more tab called function editor. Just click on that. And this is where you need to get your payload that you are passing from your Google Sheets through Google Apps Script. I'm going to select everything and clean up that, and I'm going to insert my own webhook that I have created. So you can find this webhook in the YouTube description. So basically I'm creating a function which accepts payload, and which connect to my MongoDB Atlas. And this is a DB name, Google Sheets DB. This is the DB that's going to create once I post an API request from Google Sheet. And this is collection name, and inside the collection employee record, my data. This data is going to get inserted, and if it's successfully inserted, it's going to return an ID. Otherwise, it will return a text saying error. So once this is done, you can find an option run here. Just click on the run, and you can ignore the missing semicolon and this error, because this function editor doesn't support ES6 format, and that's why we are seeing this error. You can just ignore it as long as the backend support. So now click on the run. So if you see that it ran successfully and we got the response in the form of ID. Now you can go and click on the save. Once this is saved, just click on the review and deploy changes, and it will ask a confirmation pop-up. Click on the deploy. So the deployment was successful, you can see at the top. Now go back to the cluster, and here if you see there is some Stich service Mongo Atlas is created. Now let's go to Google Sheet. Let me open a script editor here. So let's create a function. Let's call the function name as connect to MongoDB. So now I'm going to test the connection by just passing a sample data, and this MongoDB support JSON, which is a binary object notation, which is almost similar to JSON, so you no need to worry about that. Let's name this variable as form data. Let me create the record name as a name and the value as Rajan, and I'm going to pass one more record. Let's name this as designation, and the designation is software engineer. So this is a sample form data that we are going to update on the MongoDB, and I'm going to send a post request. So if you remember, when we are creating a MongoDB Stich services, we have selected the post request. To make a post request, I need to use an class called URL fetch app. Let's name that as getID, and I'm going to use URL fetch app, and I'm going to use the .fetch method with URL and parameter. So in the params, you need to mention that you're going to make a post request with a payload data. So let me create params here. And the type of request is post. That's why I mention it as a post. And my payload is form data. So now we have params here, and we need to connect this app script to a MongoDB using a webhook URL. So now to get this URL, you can go back to your MongoDB. So now go back to Atlas, and here go to this Stich option, and go to the application Google Sheet, and go back again to add a service and click on the service name. Click on the webhook and go to the settings. Now scroll down. If you see, you can find the webhook URL. Just copy the URL and now go to your Google App Script. Paste the URL here. So once this data is updated on the MongoDB, MongoDB will return an ID as a response, and that will be captured under get ID. So I'm going to print the get ID here. So now let's go ahead and execute the script. And this should be logger.log. There was a typo in the log. Now execute it again. So this script is successfully executed. Now go to MongoDB and click on the back to Atlas and go to cluster 0. Inside the cluster 0, go to collection, and this is where all your records get inserted. And if you see here, it successfully created a database Google Sheets DB, and inside the database it create a collection employee underscore records, and if you click on that you can see, and this get inserted when we test the Stich editor on the admin console, and these two records get inserted when we were running the script. So I just deleted everything, and now we are going to send this information to the MongoDB employee records collection. So to do that, now we have to go back to Google App Script. And if you just want to confirm whether this app script ran well or not, you can go to view and logs. If you see some random number, then which means this is the response we got from MongoDB, otherwise you will get error here. So now let's see how to get these records and insert to the MongoDB database. So here I'm going to create an object for this sheet, and this is sheet 1. Let's name this object as sh1. I have to select the method get active spreadsheet, and inside the method I need to select get sheet by name to get the very first sheet, and this get sheet by name accept sheet name as an argument. So the sheet name is sheet 1, and I'm going to create another object called range, and I'm going to get the entire range of this Google Sheet. So it will return this range. So to get that, use sh1 and use the method get data range and get values, which return the range in the form of 2D array that you can see here. Now let's print and verify whether we are getting the right range or not. I'm going to comment out this one because I don't want the record to be inserted once again. So if we go to logs, you can see that it inserts the name, designation and confirmation ID in one array and other details in the separate array. So this is working fine. Now we can get rid of this logger statement. To insert all the record, I'm going to use a for loop. A simple for loop should be more than sufficient to do this stuff. Let's create a for loop starting from I is equal to 1 and I lesser than range dot length. So this is a 2D array, and the array is always starts with a 0, and I don't want the 0th record to be inserted because the 0th record is the header. So I want the record to be inserted from the first record. So that's why I start my for loop with a value 1. So it's just a simple for loop, and I can make use of this form data, put that form data inside the for loop and remove the comment. So instead of this hard-coded value, I want this value to be a dynamic. So to get the name during each iteration, I have to use this range object, and it accepts a 2D array. And the first one is responsible for row and the second one is responsible for column. Let's say in the first iteration, and this should be 1 and this should be 0. So it will take this record during the first iteration, and I'm going to copy the same to the designation, but the column should be 1 because 0 referred to the name column and 1 referred to the designation column, and this should go inside the for loop. Let me remove the command. You can just ignore this command as well. So I hope that's it, and the parameter will dynamically change during each iteration, and this form data will keep on changing during each iteration, and the respective records will be inserted on our MongoDB on the cloud. So I want to populate the confirmation as well on the Google Sheet under the column C. So to pop up that, let me call sh1.getRange, and this row should be i+1 because I refer to 0 and 1 here refers to the second row, but getRange don't accept the 0th value, it starts from 1. So in order to compensate that, I'm using i+1, and it should update in the third column, and that is confirmation ID. So now we got the range, and it's a time to set value, and the value should be get ID. So I'm just putting the get ID here. That's it. I think we are done. Now it's time to execute, and this is executed successfully without any error. Now you can go to Google Sheet and see whether you got the confirmation ID. Yeah, we got the confirmation ID for each and every record. Now we will go back to the MongoDB. Let's refresh this one, and here you go. So we got the 4 records from our Google Sheet to the MongoDB. You can see it created an ID, which is obvious, and along with that I got the name and designation, and that's it. This is how you need to connect your Google Sheet to the MongoDB. You can do either way. You can just export the data from your Google Sheet to MongoDB, as well as you can also import the data from MongoDB to Google Sheet. And that's it for this video. If you like this video, give thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.